Here in Nigeria, human rights record has come under increasing criticism with reports of police brutality, unlawful detentions, extrajudicial killings, gender-based violence, and suppression of free speech becoming alarmingly frequent. Despite President Bola Tinubu's pledge to uphold the rule of law and protect human rights, his administration's actions have not necessarily upheld the standard. Recent incidents have highlighted the need for urgent reform. The arrest, for example, of activist and lawyer Dele Farotimi, the harassment of his staff and associates, the unlawful detention of minors participating in the End Bad Governance protest. These are just few examples of the widespread human rights violations occurring daily in Nigeria.
Well, the media has also faced intense abuse, with journalists being arbitrarily detained and harassed for reporting on corruption and human rights abuses. The Cybercrime Act has been used to silence journalists, with Section 24 being particularly problematic as it allows for the punishment of journalists for cyber stalking, with up to 3 years imprisonment or a fine of 7 million naira. Anyway, as Nigeria's human rights record continues to deteriorate, human rights organizations have called on the federal government of Nigeria to honor its constitutional obligations and international commitments to human rights. Joining us to discuss now is the chairman of Access to Justice Committee at the African Bar Association. We do have Sonnie Ekwowusi. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Well, so many a time, Amnesty International has continued to call out the Nigerian government, pointing to situations where there have been human rights abuses. What would you say the government could have done or can still do now to ensure that it upholds the view of human rights, especially in the lives of every single citizen?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Today we are celebrating the International Day of Human Rights. And first of all, we need to understand that this celebration is not a ritual. It's something that is very, very important. To understand the meaning of human rights and the need to promote human rights, the government should first of all understand the foundation of human rights, in the sense that human rights, as Fela will say, is not a privilege, it's our property. You know, it's something that is natural to man, something that is intrinsic to every human being to respect his or her fundamental human rights. These are human rights that are prescribed in the Constitution: the right to be heard, the right to express yourself, and the right, freedom to enjoy your liberty. But unfortunately, we have seen the constant violation of human rights in Nigeria. The recent case is the case of Dele Farotimi, who was abducted from Lagos and sent to Ekiti State. I mean, we are happy that he has been granted bail now. But that's not all. That's not all. Journalists rights have been violated. People have been arrested, and so on and so forth. So today we need to reflect, and the government needs to go back to the drawing table and understand that without the promotion of human rights, our democracy does not mean anything. In fact, respect for human rights is central. It's at the basis of our democracy. And when human rights are constantly being violated, we are not living as human beings. Democracy is not being practiced, and there's no governance. Governance does not mean anything if this constant violation of human rights. So it is key, the practice of democracy. It is key to living as a people, It's key for exercise of power, If people who are in power constantly violate the human rights of the citizens, then we are in for a huge trouble. Just to say, just to repeat what I've said before, that it is not a privilege, it's a right, It is a right that every human being should be allowed to exercise his or her human rights. And also for the leaders to understand that the human being predates the state, As the human being was in existence before government came to be. In other words, the leaders it's their obligation to respect human rights, because the human being historically, philosophically, or metaphysically predates the state. That is, was in existence. The human being was created, in the image and likeness of God. And so when we understand it this way, we have to, the leaders should now appreciate why they should respect and all human rights. So it's not a privilege. It's not something that the leader can say, look, I choose. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. It is something that is, it is a right that they respect. It is their obligation to respect human rights of every human being. And we are particularly disturbed by the way people are being hounded and being arrested. I've mentioned the case of Dele Farotimi, and there are others like that who have been arrested, journalists whose rights have been violated, and people who have been detained without trial. In the Nigerian Correctional Center, you will see that almost 80% of the awaiting trial inmates are people who are just there, people who have not been taken to court. There are many of them, citizens who have been.
The interesting thing, if I may button there, is that today being International Human Rights Day, we've seen a number of the calls have been to ask that a number of these detention centers be visited, and that we start to look into the cases of people who have been unlawfully detained. There are people who have been there for the most flimsy reasons and have no reason to still be in detention. But unfortunately, because of what the current our criminal justice system is, this is the reality of what it is in Nigeria. You've mentioned unlawful arrest. I think that before we can start to look at progress, we have to look at where we currently are as a people. So unlawful arrest is one of the ways in which Nigerian citizens have been denied of their rights. But in the course of your experience so far, your observation and your work, what would you say are some of the most common abuses, human rights abuses, that Nigerians have to deal with on a daily?
Yeah, I mean, is this of incessant arrest of ordinary people by the police and law enforcement agents, And with the case of Dele Farotimi stands out because he's a human rights activist, and the people who arrested him, or the person that wrote the petition, Afe Babalola, is also well known. That's why we're hearing about it. But there are many, many, many cases of people who have been arrested illegally and dumped in detention. People who are found wandering and they have been arrested and dumped in detention. If you go to almost all the police stations in Nigeria, you have people who are detained there. Nothing has happened. They don't have a lawyer, and from there they go to Kirikiri or whatever. So the most common one is the daily arrest of people. It's almost happening on a daily basis. Armed robbery incident has occurred somewhere, and the police believe that they have to arrest people. And so they just arrest all the people who they found at the scene of the armed robbery and take them to prison. And they remain there. I go to prisons, and it is sad to see many Nigerians who have been languishing in prison. Some have spent up to 16 years without trial. I go to prison a lot, and it is sad. The police station also, I go there. People are being tortured. Like I said, we are not living as a people. If these things go on a daily basis, our life is meaningless. The life we are living is meaningless if fellow citizens are being arrested on a daily basis and dumped in police stations and in prison, and they remain there for all the time. I'm a lawyer, and I feel sad that this is happening. And I call today that we are celebrating International Human Rights, to call on everybody, all stakeholders, to come to the talking table and find out what could be done. Because the human rights abuse in Nigeria is terrible.
But where does the bulk of the work lie? So if we can all agree that there's a challenge with human rights abuses, now we're looking at Nigeria's criminal justice system. Dele Farotimi has written a book, and he's now like the poster boy of having conversations, or the poster of criminal justice conversations right now, because what he's done in this book is to speak about certain rot he's perceived or he's seen or experienced. And yes, there are people who feel that they have been defamed, and the matter will certainly go to court, I believe. But let's talk about where the bulk of the blame lies and where the cleaning needs to start off from. Is it from the judiciary, that is supposed to be the last hope of the common man? Is it with security operatives who, some have argued, have no proper understanding about what the rights of the Nigerian citizen is, or Nigerian citizens are? Or is it even with the citizens themselves, some who have no idea what their rights are, such that they don't even know when their rights are being abused?
All of us are involved with the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. The three arms of government are guilty in this, because you find that when these people who are randomly arrested, they are taken to prison, no effort is made to bring these people to trial or to even to grant them bail. See what happened in the case of Dele Farotimi. If not for the outcry, probably will have still remained in detention at this moment. So everyone is involved. If you talk about the Nigerian criminal justice system, over the years, much has been said, but nothing has been done. Many reforms have been properly carried out, and over the years, nothing has happened. And that's why, maybe I would take the opportunity to urge the Tinubu administration to take some concrete actions. It's not just enough to say things. Over the years, we have been saying something about the deplorable criminal justice system in Nigeria, but nothing concrete has been done. Nothing concrete in the form of actually, reform. When they say they are carrying out reform, it's just something that is theoretical, okay? In the sense that people are being arrested and they're not taken to court. Maybe the Nigerian Bar Association should find a way of maybe assigning lawyers to go to prison and take these people who are awaiting trial to court. And when they are taken to court also, the thing of rampant court adjournments, or the court is not sitting, when they are brought to court, they are not even, nothing has happened at the end of the day, and they go back to prison. Even in the case of, there are people who have even granted bail, who are still languishing in prison as we speak. So that's why I'm saying that all stakeholders, legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, the executive in itself should do something in way of, I don't know, if it means regular visit to prisons. I'm talking about the governors of state now, to carry out regular visits to prison and see what they can do to reassess the state of the various correctional centers.
Okay.
We call them correctional centers, but they are punitive centers, because people here see what is happening really.
All right, Mr. Ekwowusi.
All of us are guilty.
All right. I mean, you said enough, and correctively, you've pointed that our very own judiciary needs a lot of restructuring, and I think you're not the first who has said this. A lot of lawyers have equally said so, but it still baffles many Nigerians why a lot of persons have not come out to speak up and stand firmly to call for this change, especially within the lawyers. But then again, I want to say thank you so much for your time. Like you said, today we mark the World Human Rights Day, and we hope that someday Nigerians will get it right. But if we don't, we'd like to bring you back to also hear what you have to say as we mark today. Hopefully before next year, the CJN would come out with a reform. Thank you so much for your time, for joining us especially. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.